Baruch Hashem, today we're going to continue the HALACHOT Kashrut, Basar B'echalav, meat and milk. We talked last class about the meat and milk and parv. What's the difference between each other and what exactly not allowed from the Torah and what not allowed from the Rabbanan, which means from our sages. Okay? We'll learn about the parv products, which mean that something that is not mixed and is not connect and is not with any kind of food from meat or milk. It's something in the middle. And we also spoke about the fish, that we're not allowed to eat it with milky stuff according to Sfaradim, according to Ashkenaz people, and also some of the Sephardic people going by the Ashkenaz people, that they mix in milk and milky stuff and fish together. But we, according to Shulchan Aruch, we don't do it. And also, we talk about many other halachot that we're going to continue today, the rest of the halachot, and make milk and meat together. Okay? So let's review what we spoke in last class, and then we continue from there. So, we start to learn about what not allowed from the Torah. To cook, to eat, and to enjoy. From the Torah, we're not allowed to do all these three things. And from the Rabbanan, we're not allowed to have also the chicken. Also, we have to separate it, and we're not allowed to sit together, and we have to have a different shape, different vessel, different places, different parts, okay, for meat and milk. And we talk about the parv, all the stuff that is not from the meat, is not from the milk, it's the parv stuff, and we're not allowed to eat fish with meat. This is according to everybody. But fish with milk, it depends on the Sephardim and Ashkenazim. According to Sephardim, we're not allowed. According to Ashkenazim, we're allowed. Okay? So today, we would like to continue the rest of the halachot and mix meat and milk together. All the stuff that connected to it. What's going to happen if by mistake I have something that mixed together? Whether it's the sauce, whether it's part of it, whether vessels and vessel, whether I'm using fork or utensil or spoon inside something that is meat or inside something that is milk. What about if it's cold? What about if it's warm? All those halachot we're going to learn tonight, okay? So, let's begin. The Torah said, according to the Torah, we're not allowed to mix meat and milk together. How do we learn it? From the pasuk, Lo tevashel gdi b'chalev imo, which means you're not allowed to cook milk and meat together. Because the Torah said 3 times, we're not allowed to cook it, we're not allowed to enjoy it, we're not allowed to eat it. And from the Rabbanan, we're not allowed also to mix it, which means not allowed to touch each other or to be in the same plate, on the same table, without any sign or something like that. Okay? So basar and chalav, basar it's meat, chalav it's milk. We're not allowed to mix them together. And when I said we're not allowed to mix them together, it's not just the products themselves, the food, which means the meat himself, the piece of meat, the piece of cheese, or it's included the liquid or the dry stuff, the sauce, whatever connected and cook it in the with meat, which means it's included if I cooked chicken with vegetables, so the vegetables become besari. The vegetables become the same thing like you eat besari. You eat the chicken, you need to wait 6 hours. The same thing if you eat the vegetables or the chamin's egg. The egg cooked inside the meat chamin, you need to wait 6 hours. You eat piece of the potato. I just ate piece of potato, I need to wait 6 hours? Yes, because it cooked with meat. Whatever cooked it with meat, become meat. Whatever cooked with milk, become milk. Even you touch and you take it out from the milk. Let's say you put pasta and with milk or any kind of soup, and you take it out. It's not there yet. It's not there anymore. But you cook it inside the milk or inside the milky stuff or with milky stuff. It's become milk. So you're not allowed to eat this product and this kind of food that cooked with milk with the meat stuff or with the meat food that cooked with the meat stuff. Okay? So when I said meat and milk, is not just the meat himself, it's not just the milk himself, it's whatever cooked with it. And soon we're going to talk about the vessels himself, the pots, the utensil, and all the stuff that around it. Okay? So what about if it got mixed together? By mistake, I cooked dairy soup, like onion soup with mozzarella. By mistake, it jumped to the chamin or it jumped to the meatballs pot. It jumped, the sauce jumped by mistake. I opened the cover and I did like that, and then it jumped few drops of meat, of milk inside the other pot. So what I'm gonna do? It become not allowed. It become allowed. I'm allowed to eat it. I need to throw it out. What's gonna happen? So that's what we're going to talk tonight. So we have few rules. So let's learn the rules together. And it's very important to learn it and to memorize it, because it could have happened every day and in a daily basis. So we have few rules. If you have mixed liquid and liquid, it's called lach belach, which means I have sauce for the meat, jump inside my other pots of milk pots. This is liquid and liquid. So we have the rules 1 of 60. If I have the milk soup, it's over 60 times more than this drop from the meat sauce, it's allowed. It's okay as long as I have 1 of 60. And of course, if it's drop, but if it's spoon or if it's a bunch of it or by mistake, you shake it and then half of it or some of it. As long as you know, the only reason, when we are allowed to eat it, the rest of the milk, even you have few drops for the meat, and you have over 1 of 60, only if it's not taste like a meat. You don't taste it, it's not recognized. You see over here, only if the small one is not recognized, you don't feel the taste from the meat inside the milky stuff, or opposite. You don't taste the milky drops inside the meatballs, or inside the soup chicken. Okay? So if it's liquid and liquid, 1 of 60, it's allowed. If it's not 1 of 60, it's not allowed. Which means that if you have more than that, so you have to throw everything away. If it's liquid and dry, you have meatballs, you have schnitzels, you fried schnitzel, and then some of the drops jump from the omelet with mozzarella, jump inside, or liquid milk, or by mistake you're drinking Nescafe and you're making meatballs, by mistake, jump inside. It's also 1 of 60. You have meatballs 60 times than this drop, it's okay, as long, again, as you don't recognize the taste of the small one. But if it's dry, it's 51 to 50, which means you're going by the majority. You have to have more than the other one, which means that if I have piece of chicken jump inside the pot with cheese, is dry and dry. If you see it, this piece, you need to take it out, of course. And you have to make sure that there's nothing dirt from the chicken on the cheese himself, and it's okay. But if it got mixed that you don't see it, all the rules that we're talking over here, it's only when you don't see it and you don't recognize, and you cannot take it out. Because if you can take it out, you have piece of meat jump inside pot with cheese, or opposite, piece of cheese jump inside the pot with meatballs. If you see it, you need to take it out and wash the meatballs. Okay, you have to wash whatever left over. But if it got mixed, you don't know, it's 51 or 50. You have 51, you have majority of meat, so the meat is okay. I'm talking about meat and milk together. These rules apply. And also if you're talking about taref, which means not kosher at all, food that is not kosher. Yeah? If I have piece of not kosher food jumping inside my food, and it's not recognized, it's not tasted like that, if I have the majority of kosher food, 51 is dry and dry, I'm allowed to. But if I have opposite, the majority is not kosher, of course, I'm going by that, and the rest is canceled. Okay? This is the rules for meat and milk that mix together. No, so if something kosher and not kosher mixed together, let's say I bought 2 or 3 or 5 chicken kosher, and my friends bought 1 not kosher or 2. I don't know who is kosher or is not. Let's say we put all of them on the chicken. Now, I don't know, but I know for sure that I am more than her. If I know it for sure. If it's a small amount or something like that, of course, throw it away. Don't even try to make this calculation. I'm talking about sometimes it's a factory, sometimes it's a lot, and got mixed together. It happened to my friend. They slaughter like 200 or 500 chickens, and they put the kosher ones on the side, and the not kosher one, or the chicken that they have it out on the other side. And the Arab guy came, and by mistake, he put all of them on one side because he would like to make some space for the other chickens. And then they come back, and they were shocked. Now what are you gonna do? He got mixed them together. Nobody knows. So if you're going by the majority, okay. But if it's just one chicken and one piece, it's still okay. So the rules of 160, liquid and liquid, on liquid and dry, it's only when the small one, the piece or the little sauce, it got mixed and you don't recognize that. You don't recognize the Nescafe. You don't recognize the sauce of the meat. Or you don't see it, because if you see it or it recognized, if yes, the rest of the food is not allowed. The same thing, if you can see the piece or you can see the drops of the meat, needs to be removed from the rest of the food. You see the little chicken, the little cheese that got inside the pots or something like that mixed, you need to remove it or cut it. It got stuck on the meat. Or you need to wash it. So a lot of people ask if it got mixed together and have 1 of 60 rule, which means that if I have 60 more than these drops, so let's mix together, and I always make sure that it's 1 of 60. Let's say I would like to mix meat and milk together, and let's put inside the big pots of cheese, I would like to have like some of the meat. It's just pieces, little pieces. You know what? I'm going to take inside the full of meatballs pot, I'm going to put a little bit mozzarella. 1 of 60. No, we're not allowed to. And מבטלים איסור לכתחילה, which means you're not allowed to mix it in advance. Another rule. Because if yes, everybody will do it. everybody will say it's going to be canceled, 1 of 60. You're not allowed to do it. Only the rules apply only if it happened by mistake, not if you do it, in advance, and you throw it in advance. If you do it in advance, you have a fee, a punish from Chazal that you're not allowed to eat the food, even it's 1 of 60. You're not allowed to, because we would like to prevent you to do it again in the next time. So only if it's a mistake, only if it's these rules, 1 of 60, 1 of 60, liquid and dry, or 51, the majority is dry, and it's not recognized, and you don't see the other piece, and then these rules apply. Okay? So this is, and when we're talking about the mix meat and milk together, whether it's the meat, whether it's the milk, whether it's the sauce or piece of it or something of it, it's all these rules applies. Okay, now we have another rules. What the difference if this meat or this milk or this sauce or this product of meat and milk, it's warm or cold, and we have a difference or no? I'm going to explain it. I'll give you a little bit of introduction. We have a difference in the halacha between if it's cold and cold touching together, or it's warm and warm, or warm and cold. Because usually when you see something warm, it's much more a swallow. It's much more stuck. It's much more get it inside. So it's different. If I have something, piece of meat, piece of cheese, touching together, even if not allowed to touch together, and soon we're going to talk about what if the pots touching together. But now we're talking about the meat and milk or cheese. It's dry, and both of them are cold. It's different if the meat is going to be steak, a steak, or a hot chicken or hot schnitzel, and you put the cheese on top of it. It's different, right? Because it's going to be much more observing and taking a taste. If it's cold, it's much more less risk of getting the taste of each other. Okay, so let's learn together. What about if those things, two products, milchik or fleishik? Okay, it's two words in Yiddish, but in order to recognize and to find the right word, instead of to say halavi or besari, you can call it halavi, which means milky stuff, besari, which means meat stuff. In Yiddish, we say milchik, which means dairy, and fleishik. Fleishik, it's besari. So whatever you want to call it, okay? So let's see what it's exactly the difference between if it's warm or cold. Cold meat and milk food. Okay? I'm not talking about just the meat and milk. All the stuff that is cold, that comes from the milk or comes from the meat, and they touching each other. Like I said, cold cheese or cold meat. Or even you have pasta that cooked with cheese or cooked with meatballs, and touch piece of cheese or touch a piece of meat, okay? But it's dairy, it's milchik, because it cooked with milk, it's okay. If it's cold and cold, again, cold and cold, it's okay if you don't have any of them on each other, which means that you have to make sure they touch. By mistake, I don't know, your son make him meatballs and your daughter want the pizza one or the pasta with the macaroni with the mozzarella, whatever, and they touch each other. By mistake, she put it on the sink or whatever. Cold and cold, you have to make sure that you have no dirt on each other's food, which means that you have no dirt from the meat on the milk product, the milk food, the milky food, and you have no dirt from the meat on the milchik food. Okay? So both of them are okay. Both of them are kosher and both of them allowed to eat. Cold, dry meat and milk. I'm talking about not the food of the milk and meat that cook together. I'm talking about the real meat, the real milk touching each other, no dirt, also allowed. Again, cold, dry meat and milk, piece of chicken, piece of cheese, touching each other, there's no dirt. You make sure if it's dirt, you need to be washed or need to be removed. Then they're allowed. Let's say they touching each other, they have dirt and I cannot take it out. So you cut this piece of the meat of the schnitzel, it got stuck, it got, let's say, a little bit of cream cheese. It's cold, but it still got stuck and I cannot take it out. Even I tried to wash it and some of the food you cannot even wash. So you can cut it a little bit from the corner of the schnitzel and then remove it. Okay? If one of them is liquid, you need to wash from the dry food. Okay? If one of them is liquid, which means I have liquid milk. My son eats cereal and the cereal jump on my daughter's schnitzel's plate. And a little bit from the cereal, a little bit from my Nescafe, jump on the dry meat. So it's cold and cold. You need to be washed from the dry food. Understand? You need to be washed from the dry food. You can take the schnitzel, you can take the piece of chicken, you can take the piece of meatballs or hot dog and wash it, and that's it. If it cannot be washed, you need to cut this part of liquid or throw it at all. If you cannot be washed, which means you cannot, it's how you call it? I mean, it's already the sauce from the milk or the sauce from the meat got inside the cheese, inside the mozzarella, inside the pizza. It cannot be washed. I wash my pizza, but it cannot. It touched something from the meat. The sauce of my son drink the chicken soup, and he did like that, and it jumped inside the my pasta with macaroni. It's stuck inside. It cannot be washed. So it cannot be washed. You need to cut this part of the liquid. If it got stuck or a little bit of the pasta with the mozzarella, it need to be cooked. Or if the dairy liquid jump on the meat dry, you need to cut it, this piece. If not, you need to throw it, all of it. If it's dry, meat and in the milk pot. Now listen to that. Listen to that. Before that, I'm going to give you another introduction. We have another rule. We have another rule that if the meat is dry, cooked inside the milky pot, we have a different. If this milky pot cooked with milk in the last 24 hours or no. You remember we learned about it when we learn about how to kosher the dishes for Passover. So we'll learn about it and we're going to review it again when we're going to talk about how to kosher. But we have the same rules. And this rule will apply in the koshering and also on the mixing HALACHOT. Okay? So in order to remember that, you should remember the rule. If this pot cooked by meat or by milk, it's become milky, milchik, and become fleishik, which means meat. And you're allowed to use it only for milk stuff or for meat stuff. It depends what you use it for. That's what we have to have recognize the pots and the utensil. That's why I want to make sure that we have the pots for that, for that, or the pans or plates that you're not going to be mixed. What about, so if you're taking a meat by mistake, you took your husband took a pot and he thought that he's fleshik, he thought that he's besari, he thought he's meat, and he cooked soap with mozzarella. Or opposite, he took milchik pot and he make a meatballs for your children. Now what am I gonna do? You told him no, it's besari, it's meat. What are you doing? He said, I didn't know. So you need to hold on and check. Did you cook in this spot in the last 24 hours or no? If you cooked in this spot in the last 24 hours, it's called Ben Yomo. Yom, it's a day. Ben Yomo, it's like it's within a day, within 24 hours. If it's within 24 hours, so the meat that you cooked within 24 hours swallow in the pot's walls. If it's swallow, it's not just swallow, the taste can jump when you turn the heat again, the taste can jump and become on the food that you cooked in within 24 hours. That's why even you cooked something parv, it's become besari or become chalavi. Soon we're going to talk about it, becheskat besari or becheskat chalavi. Now I'm talking about what about if it's got mixed, which means I'm using meat in a milchik pot. Using meat in a milchik pot. Now what I'm supposed to do? To throw the meat away? It's going to be not kosher? So let's see. If is dry meat, I'm putting the schnitzel or the chicken inside the milk pot. Over 24 hours, and I leave it there over 24 hours, it's called kavush, mevushal, which means cooked, and then it's not allowed. Okay? Whether it's the meat inside the milk pot or inside the milk itself, over 24 hours. Even you're going to wash the meat after, you cannot, because it stays there for 24 hours. It's called kavush, which means mevushal, cooked. The meat, the milk got stuck on the meatballs. That's why you're not allowed to. If it's liquid, spicy, or salty, sour or salty, even less than 24 hours, not allowed. Which means, if this meat got inside the milk pot or milk, and the milk was sour or salty or spicy, the liquid milk, even less than 24 hours, the meat and the milk not allowed. Even you wash it, it's not going to be good. You have to throw it away. This is all about cold meat and milk food, cold dry meat and milk food touching each other or mixing each other. These halachot apply to that. When it's cold, again, when it's cold, you have to be washed, you have to be removed. And if it stays together for 24 hours, even it's cold meat and cold milk, it's called kavush and mevushal. If it's less than 24 hours and this liquid was salty or was sour or was spicy, the spicy goes very, very fast, even less than 24 hours. So you make the meat not allowed. Okay? If it's not spicy, if it's not salty, it's not sour, you just jump inside the cooked, or I'm not talking about cooking here. I'm talking about touching. Again, it's considered cooked if it stays there for 24 hours. But if it cooked, of course, that we apply the other rules, one of 60 or one of okay? Now I'm talking about just touching each other. What about if it's warm? That's why I put it in a red color, because it's warm. Warm meat and milk touching each other. Now it's, you take the steak, you take the chicken or the schnitzel, it's hot, and you have hot milk, you have a hot coffee, Nescafe, touching each other, jumping inside each other. It's more complicated. It depends of the case. That's why you have to ask a rabbi. If you have a warm milk, a warm soap, milchik, or warm meat touching each other. I'm not even talking about cooking. With touching each other, it's complicated because even you wash it, it stays there. So my recommendation, throw it away. If it's warm and warm, it's complicated. Even it's dry and dry, even it's dry and liquid, it's complicated. If it's cooked in the milky pot, meat, or using meat fork or spoon, it's apply also for the food and also for utensil. Which means I'm taking now the meat inside the milky stuff, the milky pot, or I'm using the spoon, milky spoon, Basari spoon, which means fleshik spoon, which means meat spoon, inside the milky pots, and I mix that together, and then I say, oh, this is a meat. I need to throw it away if it's warm. Again, I'm taking warm Basari spoon, and I mix in my Nescafe. My Nescafe is warm, it's hot. Or I mix in other pot that is hot, and I'm using it for milk. You have to throw it away because it's warm. If it's cold, you have to wash it, and we're gonna learn on the other classes how we koshering if it cold inside the cold meat and milk. You use it for the utensil. Again, so if you cooked in the milky pot meat, or using a meat fork or spoon, all of it dry and cold and warm, apply it also for the food and also for the utensil, which means if the food cold, it's okay. So the same thing, you touch the cold spoon, the cold fork, you touch the cold one, it's okay. If the food is okay, the spoon is okay. If the food is okay, the fork is okay, which means I'm taking not the knife, the fork or spoon, and I'm cutting piece of the chicken, piece of the schnitzel. And then I realize, oh, it's milchik. It's cold, you need to wash it, and it's okay. As long as the cold, okay, when they touch each other, even when I use each other, it's okay. Whether it's a fork, whether it's a spoon. Only knife. If you're using knife, even cold, you cut a schnitzel with a knife, a milchik knife, you're not allowed to use it because the knife, it's much more swallowing because it's very tight. Okay? We're going to see it soon. Okay? So whatever apply, cold meat and milk or warm meat and milk, if this one it's okay by the food, if they're chatting each other, also if you use the other one, the milchik to the fleshik to the milchik, you mix it together, cold, you still can use it, you just wash it. And you don't throw it, and a lot of people doesn't know it. Sometimes they use each other, and then, oh, you just touch it, you cut the pizza with the meat fork, or you use it, oh, throw it away. No, you can wash it. We're going to learn how to kosher it. But as long as the food, if they touch each other, it's okay. so the same thing, the utensil. But if you use it for warm, you mix it Nescafe, you mix in the soup. It's a dairy soup, the dairy Nescafe, dairy milk with the meat spoon or meat fork, you have to throw it away because the worm much more swallowing. Okay, the same thing. If you have a meat pot and you mix it with the dairy spoon or dairy fork, you have to throw it away because the same thing that the pot is not allowed, the food is not allowed, the same thing that the utensil. Okay? I'm sorry. Okay, so when we're talking about the warm or the cold, again, whether it's the milk and milk food or whether it's the meat and milk himself, if it's touching each other, you just cut the dirt, you wash it, and then it's okay if they touch each other by mistake. Of course, you're not allowed to mix it together or put it next to each other, but it's okay. You just cut it or wash it and make sure that it's not dirt. If you cannot wash it, you cannot take away the other parts that mixed, whether it's liquid, whether it's dry, you just wash it. If you cannot, you have to throw everything away. Whatever applied to cold, whatever applied to warm, because warm, it's much more complicated. More warm, it's much more absorbing and swallowing. Well, whatever applied to the food himself, applied to the spoon or the pots. The spoon, that dairy that you mix meat food, if it's warm, you have to throw it away. If it's cold, you don't throw it away, you just wash it. And opposite, if you're taking meat spoon or meat fork and you touch the schnitzel, you touch warm food with a milchik spoon or milchik fork, you have to throw it away as long as it's warm. Okay? So let's continue and then we're going to summarize everything. If cold liquid, we have a milk, okay, inside the pot, inside the plate, inside the bowl, cold liquid, 24 hours in the meat pot, the pot not allowed to use, need achshara. The milk allowed. Again, now I want to put milk inside a plate, inside a bowl, inside even pot. By mistake, I took a meat one, and the milk stays there over 24 hours. The pot himself, because the pot is besari, the pot is meat, needs to be achshara, needs to be koshering. You need to kosher it to do ag'ala, because it's over for 24 hours. The milk stays inside. I told you, it's like mefushale. It's considered like he cooked. Whatever stays inside, whether it's the milk inside the meat spot, whether it's the meat sauce or meat liquid inside the milk pot, it's considered like you cook it. But the milk himself allowed to drink. Just the pot need achshara. The milk allowed. Just the pot not allowed to use because it's over 24 hours inside the meat pot. But if we have a cold meat, touch the cold milk pot. Again, meatballs. You take in a meatballs and it touch the milk pot. Whether it's inside, whether it's outside, it's okay. Just wash it. Wash the meat himself and wash the pot himself. If you cut in a cold meat with a cold knife, it's a problem. I told you. If you're using utensil, like it's fork or spoon, If it's cold and cold meat with a cold milk spoon or fork, you need to wash it. But if you cut cold meat with a cold knife of chalavi, cold dairy knife, it's a problem. Okay? What about meat pot cooked with warm milk? Again, the meat, the pot is meat. The pot is basari. But you warm milk for your baby or for yourself. The pot and the milk not allowed. Only if the pot is over 24 hours, so the milk is allowed. You remember the rules? The rules of Basari and Chalavi? The pot is meat. Why the pot is meat? Because the pot, I'm using it usually for meatballs, usually for schnitzel, usually for chicken. Now my husband came and he warmed milk inside. What I'm supposed to do? To throw it away or to keep it, to use it? If the pot himself cooked with meat in the last 24 hours, it's called ben yomo. It's within 24 hours, my wife used it for meat. So the milk, you have to throw it away. But if it's over 24 hours, she used it for meat on Sunday. Now I warm up the milk on Thursday or Monday, Tuesday. It's after 24 hours, so the milk allowed. If the pot of the meat, it's over 24 hours when you cook the meat last time, even you cooked warm milk, the milk is allowed. Okay? You got it? Again, the rules of 24 hours apply for the meat and also for the food that you use it. If I have milchik pots or milchik plates, if I use it in the last 24 hours with milchik, which means for dairy stuff, whatever I cooked within 24 hours become chalavi, become the same thing that I cooked. Whether it's a parv, whether it's basari. That's why if it's basari and I use it in the last 24 hours for chalavi, you're not allowed to use the pot, you're not allowed to use the food. Because it's within 24 hours, the taste from the milk jump to the meat. It's called noten tam, bar noten tam. The vessel, the parts swallow the taste, and also you're taking out the taste. But if it's over 24 hours, yes, I use it for chalavi, or I use it for basari, but a few days ago. Now it's like kind of in the middle. And now you come in and you warm up a milk inside the meat pot, or I warm up meat inside the milchik pot. Over 24 hours ago, you use it for this and for this, for basari or chalavi. So the food and the products and the whatever you warm up inside, it's okay. Okay? Just the pots himself need to do achshara. Okay? The pot himself needs to be kosher. Need achshara, required to kosher it, to do agala. We're going to learn it. Okay? If you have a drop from the meat sauce to the milky pot and it's hot, now I have a milchik pot, and just from the schnitzel pan jump few drops, or from the chicken soup sauce, chicken soup jump inside the dairy, not the food, just sauce, not the entire pot, just the drop. So the spot need to do achshara for the spot. You see? If it's hot, needs to do achshara for the pot on the spot. because you cannot just do it on the spot. The touch, the drop. That's why you do an achshara for the entire one. Or if you mix with the meat spoon, you mix a milk inside the milky pot. Also need to do hechsher if it's warm. Whatever we're talking about the pots, whatever we're talking about the food, whatever we're talking about any kind of vessel, also it's included the cover that you cover the pot, that you cover the plates, that you cover. It's like the pot himself. If you put it in on the other, needs to do hechsher. Again, if I'm taking the cover from a pot of chalavi, pot of dairy pot, and I cover the besari chamin or besari meatballs pot, needs to do hechsher for the cover. Oh, just the cover? No, because the cover swallow all this steam from the cooking. So that's why you have to make sure that the cover himself belongs to the meat one, and the cover of the dairy one belongs to the dairy one. So the cover, it's like the pot. If you put it on each other, you mix it by mistake for the besari, the chalavi one. So it needs to do hechsher. Okay? Oven and microwave, the same. Oven and microwave, the same. What do I mean by that? Okay, when I say microwave and oven, it's the same rules of the pots of besari and the pots of chalavi. The same rules. We're gonna go and learn about it more details when we talk about the achshara, but I just want to give you the rules of the microwave and the oven and any kind of machine that you use for besari or you use for chalavi. Again, first of all, let's begin with the rules of 24 hours. If I use the oven for besari, it's just for besari. You're not allowed to use it for chalavi. You're not allowed to use it for dairy if you use it for meat. The only way that you can use it for chalavi, even it's besari's oven, if you put something chalavi and you cover it inside the aluminum, inside the tray, that you cover it, this is the only way that you can do it. We're going to learn it later in the next class. But my recommendation, in order not to have problems, because sometimes it jumps, sometimes the cover and the aluminum is cutting, sometimes the sauce jumping, sometimes the stuff jumping, and then it mix together, and then it jump on the trays and jump on the walls from the pizzas, whether it's other stuff. So that's why if you have an oven just for one thing, or besari or chalavi, if you use it for besari, you're allowed to use it also for fish. Even you're not allowed to cook fish and meat together. You're not allowed to eat meat and fish together, but you're still allowed to use the oven for besari and for the fish in the same place, even in this, not in the same time. Not in the same time. You cannot put meat on the first tray, the first floor, and the fish under or opposite, whatever. Okay? So, but you can use it right after another. But you cannot use it for chalavi. Otherwise, you cover it like very, very good for the meat and for the milk. For the meat, if you use it for chicken, you cover it all over. And then you can use it for chalavi if you cover both of them. But because of the problems, my recommendation not to do it, only if you don't have a choice. I have a lot of guests and stuff like that. Okay, what about if I cooked by mistake in my oven? My husband put pizza and my oven is besari. What I'm supposed to do? What the halacha for the pizza and what I'm supposed to do with the oven? So again, we have the rules. If it's 24 hours, you use it for Basari. Your wife or yourself or your husband use it for Basari. In the last 24 hours, it's considered, all the oven considered Basari. And the pizza himself not allowed to eat. But if you use it for Basari, for meat, over 24 hours, like 2 days ago, more than 1 day, the pizza himself, it's okay to eat it, and the tanur himself, the oven himself, also now required to do achshara. If it's within 24 hours, you need to do achshara, you have to do self-cleaning. And the same thing opposite. If the oven, when I say oven, I'm talking about even the microwave. The oven is halavi, is milchik, and you use it for chicken or for schnitzel by mistake. If you use it in the past 24 hours for halavi, which means you warm up a pizza, you warm up something halavi, and you use it within 4 hours for besari, you're not allowed to use it because you still swallow, and especially in the oven, you swallow all the taste. So within 24 hours, so the taste for the meat can be, for the milk can be on the meat. But if it's over 24 hours, you're allowed to use it. You don't need to do achshara. That's why, because of this mistake, that's why I have to make rule. That's it. This is a microwave just for Basari. This is the oven just for Basari or just for Halavi. The microwave the same. I'm not recommend to use it for Basari and Halavi. Even it could have been in a microwave for Basari and for Halavi. But because of the problems in the microwave, also sometimes jump, it go over, and the sauce or the liquids, it's a problem. But as long as you warm up schnitzel and you cover it, there is a cover inside the plastic boxes or aluminum. You cannot put in a microwave, but other covers. I mean, there is a special one today that cover the entire plates of the microwave, because the problem is the plate. The plate himself, the jumping sauce from the halavi on the basari. So I'm not recommend, and it's almost, some of the poskim said that it's not allowed even to use it for basari halavi because of the problems. But only if you cover the meat stuff and the milchik stuff hermetic, which means cover all over inside the boxes, special boxes that specials for that. So you're allowed to use it. But if a mistake, your husband or you warm up a pizza inside the microwave, that the microwave is Basari. If you use the microwave in the last 24 hours for Basari, you're not allowed to eat the pizza. If you use it more than 24 hours, so it's okay because you don't have the taste that jumping inside. But don't do it again. I mean, you're allowed to use it if it did by mistake, if it's over 24 hours, or for Basari or for Halavi. Okay? Now, after we got that, I would like to continue with the last part of this class about the halachot of chezkat Basari and chezkat Halavi. When I said chezkat, the word chezkat, which means that we're talking about something parv, that cooked inside the pot of halavi or pot of basari. What we're supposed to consider? This pasta, this bread. Now I'm taking a pita and I warm it up inside the oven, that the oven is basari. The pita is basari. Do I need to wait 6 hours? No. It's becheskat basari. So let's learn what do I mean by that. Chezkat halavi and Basari. Basari, which means meat. Basari, it's in Hebrew. Word, the word basar. Halavi, it's like halav, like milk. So chezkat, which means that it's considered milchik or considered meat, fleshik. But we're talking about only a parv food that cooked without milk and meat inside. It's just parv, whether it's pasta, whether it's macaroni, whether it's bread or pita, you put it inside the oven, you put it inside the microwave, you put it inside the pot, inside the meat pot or the meat oven, it's considered meat. Only within 24 hours, that's considered ben yomo. Again, it's parv, but it's considered meat. Not meat mamash, not meat like that you need to wait 6 hours. It's called bechezkat chalavi, bechezkat meat. Chezkat, which means that besari kind of. Okay? Chezkat besari, which means parv plus meaty pot, meaty oven, meaty, I didn't know the right word, but meaty microwave. According to Sfaradim, allowed to eat with the milk. According to Ashkenazim, not allowed to eat with milky products. What do I mean by that? If somebody take a bread, warm it up inside the oven, but the oven is besari. Now the bread is becheskat besari. The borekas, or whatever you warm it up inside, is becheskat besari. Do I allow to take cheese and put it on the bread? According to Sfaradim, yes. Even you use the oven within 24 hours with meat, it's okay. According to Ashkenazim, not allowed to eat this product that is parv, that cooked inside the meat oven or meat pot with milky products. And we are Sfaradim, we going by the Ashkenazim by that if my wife or myself warm up a pita or bread inside the meat oven or meat microwave or meat pot, I don't use it with the milky products in order to make it as much as I can in order that I'm not going to be mixed together. But technically, according to Sephardic, you're allowed to take this pita and put mozzarella inside. Even this pita warm up 1 minute ago inside the meat oven. But because we don't want to mix it up, that's why most of the people going by the Ashkenazim, even the Sephardic one, that we don't use the parv food or bread or any kind of product that cooked inside the meaty vessels with milky products, because it's bechezkat besari, as long as it's cooked inside the meaty vessels. What about the meat or milk pots or oven and microwave that cooked with meat or milk more than 24 hours, allowed to eat with milk and meat lekatchila from the beginning? Again, let's take example. Meat pot or meat oven that cooked with milk more than 24 hours, okay? Allowed to eat with milk lekatchila from the beginning. Like I said before, you put milky stuff, pizza, inside the microwave or inside the oven, that the oven is besari, but the oven is besari like long time ago I used it for besari. You're allowed to do it lekatchila. But we don't do it because we don't want to mix it up. That's why I said if it's besari, oven, I use it for besari. If it's halavi, oven, I use it for halavi. It's the same thing like a microwave. Less than 24 hours, not require to wait 6 hours for the meat to milk. Again, less than 24 hours. If you use this oven less than 24 hours for besari, you're not required to wait 6 hours or for meat to milk. Because even it's chizkat besari, you take in the bread, you put it inside the oven is besari, and you use it less than 24 hours, even less than 24 hours, is bechizkat besari. I eat this bread, I eat this borekas, I eat this macaroni, even this macaroni, this pasta, I use it inside the meat pot. And this pot, use it for meat in the last 24 hours. It's bechizkat besari, but I don't need to wait 3 hours or 6 hours for meat to milk, because it's just bechizkat. Okay, bechizkat, which means that I need to know that it's cooked with meat or milky stuff, that I don't use it with milk or meat stuff. But I don't need to wait because of this bread, because of this product. I need to wait 6 hours, 3 hours according to Ashkenazim, 6 hours according to Sfaradim. But I told you last class that everybody today waits 6 hours, even the Ashkenazim, everybody. Okay? And as you know, from milk to meat, not required to wait. Only wash your mouth. What about if you're using cereal? And now you want to eat schnitzel. Some of the poskim said wait half an hour. But halachically, from milk to meat, not required to wait. Just wash your hand or wash your mouth before you eat meat stuff, because you don't want to have any kind of cheese, any kind of milk stuck in your teeth. Only from meat to milk you need to wait 6 hours, but not if it's parv that cooked inside the meat pot. You don't require 6 hours. Also, for milk to meat, you're not supposed to wait 6 hours. Okay? So let's summarize what we talk until now. The rules that we have for mixing meat and milk together, it's you need to know the few rules, okay, according to the Torah. We're not allowed to cook, we're not allowed to mix, we're not allowed to have it together, we're not allowed to enjoy it. But we have a rules for dry to dry, or dry to liquid, or liquid to liquid. Liquid to liquid, or liquid to dry, 1 of 60 if it got mixed together. If you have 1 of 60, more than that, it's okay. You're not allowed to put the drops of the milk inside the meat stuff for lekatchila in advance, but if it got mixed, if you have more than that and you have no taste and you cannot see this piece, if it mixed together, it's still okay. If it's dry and dry, you need to have the majority, 51, more than the 50, okay? If you have mixing together, if it's cold and cold, it's much easier. You just cut the part from the meat stuff on the milk stuff, or the milk stuff to the meat stuff. You cut it or you wash it. If you cannot cut it or wash it, you need to throw it away. If it's warm, even you can wash it, and even that it's much more complicated. Even it's dry and liquid, or liquid and dry, or dry and dry. If it's warm and touch each other, the besarin chalavi, the milk and the meat together, it's a problem. You need to throw it away or cut it or ask a rabbi. But the same rules that apply for the food apply for the pots. If the food is not okay, the pot is not okay, you need to do akshara. The same thing if you warm up with a milky spoon and meat stuff. If it's warm, you need to throw it out. If it's cold, you need to wash it, to do akshara, do agala. You're going to learn it in the rest of the shiurim. And also, if you mix it together, or if you not mix it together, you just warm it in the oven or in the pot, that besari, even it's parv, it's become besari, becheskat besari, if it's warm in the pot of besari, that used for besari in the last 24 hours. If it's more than that, it's not become becheskat besari or becheskat chalavi. According to Sfaradim, if you're taking something that parv and you warm it up in the besari's oven or pot or microwave, even it's parv and it's considered becheskat besari, you're allowed to put gvina, cheese, or use it for dairy product. According to Ashkenazim, you're not allowed to do it, and that's what we all do it, but because we don't want to mix it up. Okay? And But if even you have becheskat besari or becheskat chalavi, it's just within 24 hours. If it's over 24 hours, it's not considered becheskat besari or chalavi, and even it's considered don't need to wait 6 hours or 3 hours for meat, parv with meat vessels for milk. Okay, and this is more or less halachot for today. And B'ezrat Hashem, next year we'll continue, and also we'll learn about how to do achshara if it got mixed, how we koshering the food, and how we koshering the pots himself or the utensil, whatever touch each other or mix each other. Okay.